hour, everyone. This is Kashia with Honest Doula, and here I'm with a new segment that I have called Honest Black Mama, where I take the voices of Black mamas in our country, in our nation, and we hear their stories. Today, I have Peaches Dean and Danielle Petway, and I'll let them introduce themselves before we begin to talk about their birthing stories. Peaches.
Hi, my name is Peaches. I'm a children's book author and a parenting coach where I help parents learn how to communicate with their children and teach your children how to communicate back with their parents, and they can have a cohesive, peachy parenting experience. I have a 15-month-old daughter. Well, she'll be 16 months in 2 days. So we still breastfeed. She is tearing up my house. And all I can do is be thankful that she sleeps through the night. And that's when I get my break. So that's me.
Hello, I am Danielle. I am a fashion designer and graphic designer. So basically, I deal in all things pretty. I am also a community and educational activist in Michigan. I am mom to a 23-month-old. That sounds so weird. She'll be 2 December 14th. She is the light of my life. We are still breastfeeding. We are weaning. I'm attempting to wean. I want to wean. She's not having it. But I am looking forward to sharing my experience and my journey with you all.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. So let's just get started. I want to start about when you found out you were pregnant and you know how you have these ideas of what your birth plan looks like. So before, what was your birth plan? What was your ideal birth plan? What did that look like for you guys?
Well, I always wanted to do a water birth, but I did not. I guess for me, I didn't do as much research as I should have, and I reached out to like a birthing center, but I didn't meet their weight requirement because when you're a certain weight, you're considered high risk. No matter how your pregnancy goes, you're just considered that, and so they wouldn't accept me because of that. So I just went ahead and went with the regular hospital routine, which was fine. I still had an okay experience. It wasn't totally the experience I wanted just because they are so worrisome. However, I'm thankful for that because I know the mortality rate for Black women, and the more that they're checking on you, asking you questions, that's an opportunity for them to listen to you just to make sure that you are okay, so that they can check on, make sure you're not hemorrhaging or just anything else. So I got pregnant actually around this time last year, 2 years ago. And we were trying to conceive. We actually had a miscarriage about 6 months prior to us conceiving again. I was using pre-seed. I was taking Vitex, which is like a hormonal balancing supplement. And I was doing that because after my miscarriage, I just was spotting. So I needed to get that back under control. I was tracking my ovulation, but from the time I started taking those, it took us about 2 months to actually get pregnant. I knew right away. I took a test and it was negative, but I was like, I know I'm pregnant, child. I took a test like maybe 2 or 3 days later and it was positiveness. We were both kind of like, oh snap, because we were like soft trying to get pregnant. It was kind of, if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. But we really, really, really did. And so we both were kind of like really, really nervous. Just because we were doing it in an unconventional way, in the sense of like prior to conceiving, we wanted to be married first. But then we were like, I really don't want to rush getting married, but I definitely want to have a baby with you. So we just did, and my pregnancy was beautiful. I really didn't have any morning sickness at all. I had not much of an appetite though. I just craved salad and fruit the whole time. Like I just wanted cold fruit all the time. I actually cried one time because my salad smelled like peanuts, because I guess they cooked my chicken in peanut oil. I was furious. Like, I cried. Like, I was ready to call and cuss them out, but I ate it anyway. I sucked it up and I ate it. And it was really good too. They make good salads. Anyway, towards the end, I started having like heartburn real bad and was having to sit up to sleep at night. Because like it would make me like vomit, like projectile vomit. It would be so bad. And it was only when I ate certain foods, but I would have to eat those foods. Like Taco Bell, so bad for you. But those quesadillas was hitting the spot, honey, let me tell you. So that was all well and done. I was supposed to have her July 7th was my due date. She came on the 12th. I started having contractions. I woke up and I had false labor like 2 or 3 times. But so I woke up one morning, it was a Friday morning, I just was contracting like every 5 minutes. And it just stayed at 5 minutes. And they were pretty intense, but I tried soaking in the tub and all that. They just would not go away. So probably about 2:00 Saturday morning, I finally went to the hospital. They were going to induce me the next day, supposedly, anyway. So I just was like, please get the shout out, because I'm not about to be in labor for like 5 days. We just not trying to do that. I did opt to get an epidural, which I didn't. I was always fluctuating on whether I wanted an epidural or not. Just because I didn't want to get in that mind frame that I got to be superwoman and can I get an epidural because it's super duper bad, which there's studies on both sides. I've seen women that did not get an epidural and should have, because labor was so hard on them, it forced their blood pressure up and they ended up having to get a C-section anyway. So I was like, I definitely don't want a C-section. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it, because I've been laboring for like 23 years. Your girl is tired. I don't have no fight left. So I did get the epidural. And she came finally, because when I got to the hospital, I was still only dilated like 3 centimeters. And I had been 3 centimeters for like a week. So I'm like, I just labored for 23 hours and I'm not opening. What's going on? So we did the whole peanut ball. I did some walking prior to getting my epidural. But then she came within 6 hours. I pushed for maybe 20 minutes, which they told me that was really good for a first time woman birthing, because most women push an hour. And I was like, who could do this for an hour? This is ridiculous. And that's probably why I tore so bad, because I pushed her out. Like, she literally flew out and they had to catch her, because I was like, get the shout out of me. So it was actually kind of fun in a sense. I had a fun labor. I did like get to feel her head when she was crowning and coming out, which was cool. James was pretty disgusted the whole time, but he did a really, really good job showing disgust, because you don't get to do that and you're not pushing her out. So he held it together, you know. And yeah, so it was a pretty good experience. The outside of them waking me up every hour or two, you know, it was good. I was happy.
Thank you, Peaches. Danielle. You're on mute.
There we go. Let me start by saying I was not necessarily trying to get pregnant. I will say that ever since I was probably about 21, I was told that it would be very difficult for me to get pregnant. And if I did get pregnant, it would probably be difficult for me to hold my pregnancy. Well, fast forward, and I was living my best life. And I would like to say that he had a vasectomy. And apparently that did not work. But when I found out I was pregnant, it was a shock. I cried like a teenager. And once I got over the initial shock, I actually had to go within myself and realize how much of a blessing it was, because so many people told me I couldn't. And if you think about it, we shouldn't have been able to, considering he had a vasectomy. But our birthing plan was always to deliver a healthy child. I really wanted to do a natural birth, but due to early complications with my pregnancy, that was quickly taken off the table. I couldn't be in the natural birthing wing of the hospital anymore. I had to be on the labor and delivery wing, and closely monitored just in case anything went wrong. So I knew that from like week 17 that me being able to do like a water birth or anything like that wasn't going to happen. I was very blessed to find a Black OBGYN from start, and she let me know that whatever it is I wanted to do, I could do. But once complications hit, she said, well, I can tell you this. I can let you be in the natural birthing wing, but if something goes wrong, that adds another 60 seconds for me to be able to break you down and get you where I need you to be. Whereas if you just go down the hall, you can still pretty much labor the way you need to labor, but it allows me to monitor you a little closer. Okay, that was no problem. So my daughter was due January 25th, 2019. Baby girl decided to pop my water at December 9th, 2018. Because of previous experiences, like with my sister and her pregnancies, I was expecting that maybe they'd just like send me home, because so many people told me like, oh, your water break, they'll send you home if you're not in labor. Nope. They told me, I called her father, I let him know that I was on my way to the hospital because it appears that my water had broke. They tested me, confirmed, in fact, my water was leaking, and that I would not leave that hospital without a child. So then I was like, oh, so I'll be in the hospital till January 25th. No. My doctor came in, and she said, you only need to keep this baby in for 34 weeks, which would have been that coming Friday. So I had to stay in hospital for, and that was fine. That was dandy. It was the most peaceful experience I've ever had. Especially as a Black mother, I was very aware of that mortality rate. And I saw my doctor every single day. She came in every day to check on me. Even days that she wasn't necessarily in the hospital for surgery, because she is private practice. And between the time she was able to see me, she sent her Black female gynecologist friends down to see me because they were on staff at the hospital. So I always saw a Black face. I had fantastic nurses. I didn't run into a lot of issues that I've seen other young Black mothers run into with big chain hospitals. So shout out to Beaumont Royal Oak, because they are the real MVPs on that labor and delivery floor. But I was induced. I knew I would be induced. I was induced at approximately 1 a.m. December 14th, and my daughter was born at 11:12 a.m. So it was a really quick labor. I did have an epidural. I did not want an epidural at all. I fought tooth and nail. But having to listen to her father, who was afraid that apparently I was in so much pain, but I really don't remember. And then my mom and aunts, especially my mom, who, you don't have to be superwoman, like Peacha said earlier. You don't have to be superwoman. You can get the epidural. My doctor told me early on, like, girl, you do not have to be superwoman. I have 3 kids and I had an epidural for each one. but I didn't want one, and it was the most pain I've ever had. Having that epidural, it's like that's a memory that sticks with me. But it took me from I was like 2 centimeters. And in a blink of an eye, I was fully dilated. So it was the best sleep I ever had. But my daughter was born. She came out healthy, super healthy. But she did have to stay in the hospital for about 5 days to monitor her because she was so little. She was 5 pounds, 2 ounces. But she was definitely on track to be at least 10 pounds had I went full term. So Mommy's Hoo-Ha is very proud that she came a little early. I was able to see her crowning. I felt her pushing through my body, which is an experience all its own. I still remember that. I don't remember that ring of fire because I think my anesthesiologist was the bomb.com. But yeah, my original birth plan was to be natural. At the day, I couldn't do a natural birth because I had complications.
Thank you. Peaches, I saw you felt the ring of fire.
I did, because actually that's the one thing that I did have with one of my nurses. I kept telling her, because when I got my epidural, it was fine going in. Like, I was chilling. It didn't hurt. I didn't feel almost anything when he was sticking the needle in my back. But I guess when I was laying down, the cord like bent or something. So one of my legs was kind of numb, but the other one was not. And when I was having contractions, I could feel them and they were really painful. And I kept telling her, this hurts. And she was like, they're okay. You should be okay. You got the epidural. Just give it time. And I'm like, okay, I'm giving it time. And I push my button. This thing, something hurts. Something ain't right. And then she finally was like, okay, let me see. And then she told me to sit up. And then she was like, oh, okay, it's bent. But honey, by that time she finally listened to me, baby girl was crowning. And I could feel all of that. That ring of fire. I don't believe in spanking, but Casey deserved a spanking for that one. Because that one, that ring of fire won't know. Okay, I will always remember that. Like, you remember your epidural pain? I will always remember that ring of fire. Always.
See, the needle going in wasn't the hard part. It was the threading of the, I think maybe the threading of the catheter or whatever, because I could feel it shocking, like, all of my nerves in my body.
Wow.
Like, it hurt. I felt that.
And so it goes to show you guys feel it differently. Like, different bodies feel that epidural differently. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not getting another one. Like,
now, I don't want to have another baby. I mean, I want one, but I just think ring of fire, like
I feel like, but you were full term, weren't you?
Yeah.
I wasn't full term, although she got her daddy's head, but
my baby too, girl, my baby.
I felt a little bit of, I'm like, oh, is that the ring of fire? That's how high I was off of that epidural.
Makes sense.
I was high, honey.
See,
high.
I was asleep. As much as I could sleep, I was good. But them contractions started coming again. I was like, man, why can't I feel this? That's why I got the epidural, so I ain't had to go through this.
Right. So I have a question for you guys. So throughout your pregnancy, and even afterwards, before, during, and afterwards, how important was your support team? How did you identify that, and did it play a role, and how was it important to you?
Well, we were going to get a doula, but James didn't initially understand the concept of a doula. And I sent him materials and he was reading it, but he just had an experience with certain women and families and things of that nature. He felt he didn't know that the doula would be there for both of us. And to fight for us where he was uneducated and where I was uneducated at. He just thought it would be somebody that kind of outcasted him, and he didn't. That he really wanted it to be an experience for me and him, to just really be honed in on, and it just be us and our family. So I said, okay, I will give you this one. It'll be just us. The next one I'm getting doula, because you should have cussed that nurse out when I told her that I was in pain, and you ain't do that. Every time I think about it, I'd be like, I need to go find that nurse, because I still owe her a fussing out, because I told her I was in pain and she didn't listen to me. And had it been something else, it could have went really bad, because she was so honed in on the fact that I probably wasn't in as much pain as I was claiming to be. Luckily for me, it wasn't something that serious though. But he was my support team. I just wanted it to be me and him. After we decided we weren't going to get a doula, I didn't want my daddy and my sister and everybody all up in there. They could come after, but it was just me and him.
Yeah.
For me, I knew from jump that I wanted her father in there. I won't put his business out there, but like he an old pro when it comes to having children. So, so he kind of like knew what to expect. But my daughter is his third daughter, and he wasn't there for the previous two daughters to be born. So this was something like new for him as far as little girls. And my sister, I wanted her there because I was there for her. So I wanted to keep her up at night. Like they kept me up at night with her last child because she was in labor for 23 hours. And I got no sleep. So I wanted her to get no sleep. And then obviously I knew the Golden Girls, also known as my mom and her sisters, would be there because that is just how my family rolls. So I knew exactly who I wanted to be there. I knew I wanted no friends. Like, y'all don't need to be there for all of this. But I knew I wanted my matriarch family very close. And I knew I wanted her father to be the first man that she came in contact with when she was brought into this world.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, so I have one final question for you guys before we head out. So, for the Black woman, how important is a good birthing experience, or to be heard within this birthing experience? Based off of your experiences and hearing from other mothers, because I'm assuming you have, what would you give to a Black woman who is pregnant right now? What would you say to her, and how important is what's the most important thing?
Find a Black gynecologist. Especially a Black female gynecologist, because very early on I realized that something was wrong. Like I had like severe bleeding early in my pregnancy, and it's called a subchorionic hemorrhage. So basically like a pocket of blood between I want to say it's between the placenta and the uterine wall. And my doctor, she was phenomenal. Like she was able to like walk me through. When she wasn't available, like I said earlier, she put me in the hands of her friends who were Black female gynecologists. One time I had to go to the emergency room, and I had the worst experience ever with this on-staff ER doctor, and she reported him because he just he just was disregarded with her pain level. I was disregarded with my pain level and the fact that I was severely bleeding. And the only thing this man said to me was, "Oh, you're probably having a miscarriage," and walked away. Yeah. So in that headspace, because this had been the third time I had been rushed to the emergency room for this particular like bleeding, only this time it was bleeding and pain. I thank God every day for my ultrasound tech, because she broke every protocol and let me hear my child's heartbeat to let me know that my child was still viable. She let me watch my baby move. And she was a little Black woman from Jamaica. And I thank God every day for her, But as a Black woman with a Black birthing experience, find you a team that supports you. I chose Beaumont Royal Oak not just because of my gynecologist and her permissions there, but because I watched my sister have to have one child there and her experience. And then she had my sister, we have the same gynecologist, so that's probably why I chose that gynecologist. But the staff there, they were phenomenal. They cared about her and her baby and her life. And as things progress quickly in labor. And I think it's very important that you just get a great team on your side, because too often I watch young girls, especially young girls I work with, they get pregnant young and the system sees them as just another like Medicaid patient or something. And they come back to me and they tell me about their birthing experience. And for the longest, I'm like, oh, Miss Petway will never have kids, because I hear these birthing experiences. And mine was the complete opposite. Like, get you a good gynecologist.
Thank you, Danielle. Peaches.
I also would say to be very educated on your own terms about it. You know, I've known women who have had kids and they don't even know how they got pregnant, as far as like ovulation days, you know, the sperm goes through cervix, that are like, they don't even know their own bodies. They just out here having sex. So I would really say to be educated about your bodies, what your body is needing to get pregnant, to have a healthy as possible pregnancy and birth. Learn about Pitocin and the epidural and what happens to your body, so that you can make informed decisions and don't just totally rely on doctors, because not every doctor is a good doctor, just like every teacher ain't a good teacher. Whatever, you're gonna have bad doctors, bad nurses. It's just a part of life. So but you be educated so that when you know how to look back at the system appropriately.
Yes, and or get a doula who can do that for you. A lot of times people think you just need doulas just for that birthing experience. No, you can definitely reach out to a doula for information and knowledge. I know some doulas have, I even do have those times you can book time with me. We can talk about it. We can talk about what you need and give you that information, because you might not need me for all of that. You know what I mean? But you might need that information or where to go and seek it. So doulas are support, and we provide information, the resource. We don't tell you what to do. We help you make the best decision that you can do. We give you the forms, you know, where if you don't want to have that vitamin K or all those things for your baby, we tell you that you can't, policy isn't law. So you can do whatever you choose, and here's the forms to, you know, those things. So absolutely be educated on your body and the processes. And just like where Danielle went to a great hospital and had the great team, that's a part of that education too. You know, what are their rates with women, the gynecologist score and all of those things. Those are important. What are people saying about their character and things of that nature? So it is definitely important to do the research. You know your people. FUBU, okay? FUBU, you know, that's what I have to say. So, ladies, I really and truly appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to tell us about your experiences. It is honored. It's really good to hear some good experiences, because a lot of times we hear the horror stories, and even within your good experiences, there were instances where you were not heard. So it's very important that your voices are heard and you're taken seriously, because we Black, we proud, and we trying to live out here to raise our Black babies to make this Black nation great. So with that, this is Kashia with Honest Doula, giving you the Honest Mama talk. So peace.